Good afternoon and good evening to one and all. Welcome to the technical session 2B of the 4th International Conference on World S4. Due to COVID-19, we all are going through a new normal phase, and the team of World S4 wishes you a safe and healthy time for you and your well-wishers. We are constantly trying to overcome the challenges that research community is facing at different levels. We at Global Knowledge Research Foundation are fully committed to contribute and enhance the digital experience in research activities. To continue further, this conference has received tremendous number of submissions which has crossed more than 700 plus numbers, 20 plus countries, marked through direct submissions and special sessions, out of which 142 papers were accepted by the Technical Review Committee. Once again, we all would like to congratulate you for your research work and to be a part of this success story in the fourth version of this conference. Further, I would like to welcome our session chair, Dr. Suresh Chandra Satpathy. Just a minute. Dr. Suresh Chandra Satpathy is a PhD in computer science engineering. He is currently working as a professor in School of Computer Engineering and in Research at KIIT, India. He is a senior member of IEEE. He is quite active in research in the areas of swarm intelligence, machine learning, data mining, and cognitive sciences. I welcome you, sir.
Thank you.
So we'll begin with our first presenter. We have, well, just a minute. We have Anshul Gupta here. I have unmuted you. Can you hear me?
I think so, Deepika. We have a first
First
presenter for Akhilesh Bhati.
presenter. Okay, he's also there. Okay, so we'll begin.
Akhilesh, I am unmuting you. We can go ahead with the presentation. You can just share your screen.
I think the participants, authors have been told about the timing and all.
Yes, sir. We had already given the instruction for the same.
Okay.
For all participants, we have a 12 minutes for the presentations and 3 minutes for QA. So after 10 minutes, the chair will, otherwise the secretary will give you the reminder for the same. Now go ahead with the presentation, Akhilesh.
Okay, sir. Let me share my presentation.
Yes, Achilles.
Host disabled.
Yes,
I think
no, now we can share. Just try again.
Okay. Now it has come. Yes.
Yeah.
So let me just 1 second, please. My screen is visible.
Yes, Akhilesh.
Yeah, it's visible. Yeah, please go ahead.
Yes, sir. Let me just let it make it full screen view. Okay. Good afternoon, all. I am Akhilesh Bhati, presenting our work entitled Deep Learning Based Identification of DDoS Attack in Industrial Application. This work is done within the Qatar University in Doha, which is also being funded by QNRF, Qatar National Research Fund. Industries being attacked and experiencing cyber attacks like DDoS to halt their operation. It impacted huge on economy and financial as well as the reputation of the companies. A few DDoS attacks experienced in year 2020 Chicago Board, New York Stock Exchange, and Hong Kong Stock Exchange. Similar type of threats are being observed by oil and gas industries, where onshore remotely from a single control room. People behind DDoS attack may be motivated due to personal revenge, getting publicity, or some political motivation. However, most DDoS attacks were launched by organized criminals groups targeting larger assets financial institutions. This work focused on devising a solution which will require a lower CPU or flop operation usage and can be embedded in a circuitry or can be implemented in the form of firmware for communication modules of the industrial devices. In DDoS attack, the victim is flooded with incoming traffic from various online confiscated devices like which may be IoT devices, unsecured camera, or some routers, switches. These are being termed as botnets. Infected network computers, IoT devices, which are being shown as zombies in this figure and handlers in the figure, can coordinate their actions by command and control. These devices passes message to one another machine. These bots are working on peer-to-peer network to communicate. They work in a similar way like a client's server, but does not require the centralized server to command. DDoS impact has increased from 10 Gbps to 1100 Gbps in 11 years. VLAN web was attacked with an amplitude of 300 Gbps in year 2013, and Dyn web host DNS server was attacked with 1100 Gbps attack. These attacks make the resources unavailable to the users as well as their clients. The NetScout study, threat study indicated in year 2019 that 35% attacks are being performed on the network layer, 34% attacks for volumetric type, and 30% attack performed utilizing the application layer. It was also noticed in the recent years that attackers started reducing the impact of attack and concentrate more on 100 to 200 Gbps range. This is just to avoid coming under the radar of the government agencies and at the same time achieving their objective. Moreover, Dyn web was attacked with a Mirai botnet, which has got increased its variants up to 225,000 since 2016. DDoS detection and mitigation, there are traditional and there are modern approaches are there. In traditional, some common countermeasures are taken against DDoS attacks utilizing classical utilities like ingress, egress filtering, dword, hop count filtering, and sign cookies. Some researchers developed statistical analysis or traceback IP address or regression analysis on network traffic by identifying the attack source and filtering or rate limiting them to control the impact of the attack. In modern techniques, deploying application layer defense to stop the DDoS traffic is in use. Some techniques include authentication-based security schemes at the device level, such as the routers and the switches. Some techniques are related to fluxing protection, in which the frequent change in the IP address or the change generating the domain names are being protected. Artificial neural networks are famous learning models in their ability to cope up with the such demands of the changing environment. They are self-learning and self-organizing models. The most important challenge in the perspective is to differentiate between an attack and a flash crowd, which is being learned in most cases using artificial neural network and the deep learning technique. We have devised a model. In this model, we have collected some data sets from Canadian Institute of Cybersecurity, and 20 features were 20 network features we have extracted from ISCX 2017, and 22 features were selected from the CICD DOS 2019 data sets. These extractions are used for the purpose of the learning our model. Extracted features were classified only into the one category, which is the numerals. It means all text or booleans or the numbers were converted into the numerical form which are provided by the data set. After transformation, we got m into n dash matrix, where n is the number of the packets and n dash is the new feature. In our modeling, short-term and the long-term data are transformed into the T windows. And after reshaping that, we got three-dimensional matrix with the shape of m minus t multiplied by t multiplied by n dash, and it is shown into the figure. This model has been modeled into the MATLAB, and the two data sets with reference to the ISCX 2017 and 2019 were prepared, in which we have used 191,000 samples for the first data set and 222,000 for the second data set. In the second data set, we have taken most of the data most of the samples from CIC DDoS 2019, but some features we selected from ISCX 2017 and some features we selected from ISCX 2017 to make to include the samples from all DDoS variants. The results performance is plotted against the number of the iteration, and it has been observed that the first 01 data set, we have got result in 3 numbers of the epochs. Further calculation of the training model stops as the desired result been obtained as per 11 bug Marquardt model coding. Result obtained shows the gradient is 1.42 and only 3 numbers of iterations derive the desired result with an accuracy of almost 100%. This has happened because we selected only representative features and also discarded ineffective samples from the data set. Results were non-encouraging if we could have selected all 85 features from the data sets and selection features optimized to get the performance as well as the utilizing lower memory and as well as the lower CPU usage, which is our objective in our case. Plotting is observed as non-linear and false error rate decreased in the first iteration itself with value in a fraction of decimal to almost nearest to the 0. While plotting the testing data, validation data, and the output data on the plot, it has been observed that it exactly fits one on another, which is a symbol of no error or an overfitting curve. Regression graph is appearing with the gradient almost equivalent to R equal to 1.1 in all the training, validation, and the sample data, as well as the output data. Second experiment was done with our 01B data set, and this we have 222,000 samples, and which is comprising all type of attacks, which is published by the CIC Canadian Institute of Cybersecurity data sets, and 20% samples we use for the testing purpose, 20% samples we use for the validation purpose, and remaining 60% we use for training our model. The output layer we define to 1 only, which is in the form of binary, where the incoming packets are belongs to an attack or an benign traffic. Output 1 represented as an attack, while the output 0 was represented as a benign packet in our model. Training took almost 197 iterations to get the optimum result. This is because of the variation in the data set and the various type of attacks and the benign samples we have to consider in 01B data set. It has been observed that there are 3.2% samples in 222,000 were observed as mismatch or misqualified. This mismatch or misqualification lead to the error in the detection of the attack. Model run 197 iteration and got the result. Best optimal results we noticed at an iteration of after 191, but test and validation cross entropy performance observed as the best. Up to iteration 146, training, test, and validations were observed as the minimum with error. A gradient of the performance is noticed optimum at an epoch 197, while model performance took model performed 6 validation checks on the entire data set. Confusion matrix shown that 2.9% error were observed in the training of the model. Validation has got 3.1% error. Test error got also 3.1% error. Overall, all the
dear presenter, you just have 2 minutes left.
yes, within 1 minute I will finish, madam. Okay. Overall,
Okay.
The above test has resulted with 3.1% error and 96.9% success rate of the model in detecting the attack. The result of the performance 01B data set were lower compared to 01A data set. The main reason for the lower accuracy is due to the combination of other data sets, samples, and significant amount collected from the data set published for various years. Conclusion, the target detection accuracy for false red flow has been observed 100% for the individual data set, while for combined data set, we have observed at 96.9%. DDoS detection dealt as a sequence classification problem, transform the packet-based data DDoS detection to the Windows-based detection took place in our case, and graphical model validated and well accepted by the engineers and the colleagues in the industries they are working along with me. The future work include that more diversified data set to be processed and as and when available for the training. Many new features of the DDoS attacks are being occurred into the year, and the recent data set which we use are still not having any variants of the Mirai. And we want to build this model in the GPU and so that we can utilize into the industries, and we can communicate it to the industries that this should be included into their communication model so that it can be utilized at the source itself instead of going ahead into this. That's all for my presentation, and thank you for your
Thank you for your presentation.
Thank you, Mr. Achilles. It's a good piece of work you have done. I just have one question to you. Can you hear me?
Yes, yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yeah. Why have you given the title deep learning based? I mean, where the deep learning concept is used in your
Exactly,
work?
sir. Exactly, sir. First, we started with LSTM and CNN, and then we found that what is the number of CPU or flop operation is coming. Then we found that this operation, and then we went back into the artificial neural network. And in this artificial network, when we compared the performance we run on the same computer, both parallel together, we found that it is utilizing lower. So that's why I presented here the optimum result, not the deep learning related model. But we started with the deep learning into the picture, and at the same time, our model is still working. If we got an data set for newer data set will come, it can be used on the same both platforms together.
That's fine, Achilles. But the paper entire content is based on the artificial neural network, having
Yes,
two hidden layers and all.
yes,
Right?
sir. Yes,
And
sir.
when you use deep learning, you need to go beyond 15, 17 different type of network models. So I think if you can reframe your title of your paper, that will not mislead the researchers.
Agreed.
Otherwise, the keyword will be deep learning, and you don't find anything on the deep learning there, because mostly you have used simple artificial neural network with backpropagational algorithms, and you have tried to detect. The work is fine, but I'm just a little bit apprehensive about the title of the paper. You need to please verify and talk to the conference organizers. If you haven't submitted the final copy, then try to rectify and modify it.
Okay.
Right?
Okay.
Any question from audience? Anyway, I would like to welcome and say hello to my good friend Tavares. I'm seeing you after a long time virtually. Jao Tavares, can you hear me? Yeah. Okay, you are muted, right? So it's a long time I'm seeing you, Tavares. Yeah, I just remember the days when we met. Yeah, when we met in Bhubaneswar. Fine time,
Hello,
of course, in
friend.
London. Yeah, how you are doing?
I'm fine. Thank you. Good to see you.
Yeah,
Good to see that you are okay. In difficult times, yes.
Same here. Yeah. Anyway, over to the conference secretary for the next presentation.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. So our next presentation is by Jatin Singh. Do we have Jatin Singh with us? Kindly drop a message to me. I'm not able to find you. So the third presenter. Our third presenter is Mikhail. I have unmuted you. Yes, hello. Mikhail,
Yes, yes,
are you
I'm
able to
here.
hear me? Yeah, you
Yes,
can begin with your presentation.
yes, of course. Hello for everyone. Let me introduce by myself. My name is Michael Khachaturian. I am from Russian Bauman State University, and our uh, paper is named Developing Processory Risk Management Systems as the basis for, just a second, for economic sustainability for Russian companies in context of pandemic. First of all, I'd like to say that we are just in a first step. It's just proposal, and we getting few work, new works. Okay, let's speak about analysis of theoretic studies of problem related to companies' economic sustainability. In the last few decades, much attention has been paid to analyzing the problem associated with the term companies' economic sustainability, both in practical risk management activities and in scientific research. Devoted to this idea of the Russian and international management science. However, it should be noted that to date, neither Russian and international management science hasn't clear idea of the nature and features of ensuring the company's economic sustainability. In this context, we consider that it's possible to suggest our own interpretation of the term understudy. Companies' economic sustainability is a system of management decisions and measures based on possessory risk management mechanisms that ensures competitive advantages through strategic implementation and development of environmentally and socially oriented business process, products, and service, as well as innovative methods for managing the same. The second part of our research is instruments of risk management in digital era and in context of pandemic. As part of change in technical models, the risk management today involves development and implementation of strategies and solutions which meet new requirements for controlling risk and the opportunities for the development of the organization. One of the main tasks of the possessory risk management is the process of ensuring the economic sustainability of the organization is the support of decision making from owner on the design and operation of the main elements of the organization management system. So, the second point is integration features of mechanisms from ensuring stability, economic stability, and processors risk management system. In context of economic crisis, which we saw after pandemic, and to ensure a stable overcoming of such crisis, particularly important is integration of mechanisms for creating and maintaining economic sustainability and possessory risk management systems. It's our main point of view. Such integrations can be achieved as part of the company's economic sustainability risk management system. That among the main goals of its function should have goals that ensure and maintain the company's sustainability. In this context, we suggest a concept of enterprises sustainability, sustainable development risk management, which should be based on concept of triple bottom line and including strategic and cultural aspects of business management, such as financial, social, environmental, strategic, and cultural aspects, such as values and standards, communication, leadership, and conflict management styles. It should be noted that the above model is based on following principles, should be based on the following principles of possessory risk management. First, existence of common idea of the structure of business process and product manufacturers with owners and managers. The second one is existence of an effective communication system within the company. Third one is the existence of mechanisms for systematic analysis of the company's external and internal environment. Four, creating and developing companies' proactive strategies, because it's a key problem which we saw in context of pandemic. Proactive strategies and managing processory risks that are associated with operations of organization. And five, the availability and development of flexible and adaptable methods of identifying, analyzing, evaluating, and managing possessory risks. We can conclude that practical implementation of suggest model of possessory risk management system and companies' economic sustainability management should be strategic sequences of actions, what includes five main stages. The main stages are creating and development a strategic management system involving a single strategic vision, plan, and ideas about their implementation, progress among the company's owners and managers. Second is development a new equality of the organization structure and management infrastructure based on considering and using behavioral and cultural management aspects, which I say above: values and standards, communication, system characteristics, leadership and conflict management styles. Third, creating and maintaining an environment based on building up a new quality of mechanisms for interaction between the company's owners and managers, as well as between managers and employees. Four, creating, maintaining, and development accounting and monitoring mechanisms based on mechanisms and algorithms of possessory control and audit of the company's internal and external environment. And five, creating mechanisms for development, implementing, and evaluating possessory risks and companies' economic sustainability management based on correlation of economic sustainability indicators in conjunction with identifying, analyzing, evaluating possessory risks, affection such indicator. The third point is a possessory risk management system development model as the basis for economic sustainability of Russian companies in the context of pandemic. The system for managing possessory risk of companies' economic sustainability that is suggested in our paper is designed to provide owners and managers with solutions and tools for creating and implementing business process of possessory risk and economic sustainability management. In the theory and practice, this system should facilitate the identification, analysis, and evaluating of risk indicators and sources, as well as determine risk management targets and accounting mechanisms to achieve the performance indicators of possessory risk management and economic sustainability, as set by the owners and as a result to increase the company's effectiveness and value in general. Implementing the suggested system and the associated technological actions should oblivious create additional value of the company's owner. The analytical structure of this system includes mechanisms for identifying, studying, and evaluating all types of possessory risks that are related to social, economic, and environmental aspects of doing business. We considered it necessary to note that the suggested system is an innovative management tool upon implementation of which owners and managers will get tools not only to identify, analyze, and evaluate risks, but also to take into account the interests of all stakeholders, both within the company and in society. Which will allow to develop mechanisms for applying such interests in development companies' strategy and in its implementation. Thank you for your attention. And I'd like to, in the final, I'd like to say that it's just a first step, and we just looking for technical solution for our idea. Thank you.
Well, thank you, Mikhail. This was a paper on sustainability, and I understand you have done some analysis and proposed some steps and process for achieving the sustainability in our Russian context. Am I right?
Yes.
Yeah, fine. So can you please let me know how do you think the role of information technology in achieving the sustainability during this pandemic time?
Well, I think it's a key role of information, because if we sit in home just for technical solutions can help us to
So
managing business whole process. If we can't stop, we
okay,
need to save our lives, but businesses couldn't stop.
mhm,
So we need to use
okay.
IT.
So you agree that information IT plays a big role, and we would like to see that IT is implemented in your sustainability processes in the future, and that helps to your government, your factory, and many
Yeah.
other in the world. Uh,
Yes,
if
of course.
Yeah, thank you, Mikhail. If anyone there to answer put question to him, is all right. Otherwise, we can go ahead with the next presenter. Over
Thank you.
to
Thank you for
conference
your
secretary.
presentation. Yeah.
Dear all participants, we have a open chat board. So if you have a particular any question, you can directly write to the chat. Otherwise, to the any participants, so that will be help to you also. Deepika, go.
Okay, go ahead, Deepika.
Yes, sir. Thank you. So our next presentation is on warehouse location selection decision systems for medical sector. Yeah, Yaman, I unmuted you. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Hi. Hello. You can begin with the presentation, ma'am.
All right. Okay, can you see my screen now?
Yes, go ahead.
All right. I want to say hello to you all from Turkey. Hello.
Hello.
Let me introduce myself first. My name is Tutku. I'm from Istanbul and in Beykent University. I'm from Management Information Systems Department, and I'm mainly working on the multi-criteria decision systems in general. And today I want to present you our analysis about medical sector, and I want to start with my flow. I will start with a short introduction for our research, and I will state my objective, and I will give some information about our proposed methodology, Pythagorean fuzzy Demetel technique, and I will give some initial results of our proposed technique, and I will conclude. Let me start with my introduction. If we start with the meaning of supply chain management, because the warehousing problem is a part of the supply chain management, actually it's as a concept has been more popular in last decades. And in today's global world, uncertainty in trade, logistics, and supply chain management is vital for competition, of course. And during this systematic progress of logistic activities in total, there may be some difficulties. These logistic activities are transportation, inspection, survey, insurance, packing, packaging, stock management, customs, and the most important one is obviously is warehousing. And the warehouse is a closed or open area within the treatment chain, which can be of different size and characteristics, which are stacked, stored, and designed for the purpose of preserving and stocking the materials for various purposes and different periods. Generally, there should be sufficient warehousing during the logistics operations in order to operate process. When we come to in medical sector for the drug storage systems, environmental conditions such as light, temperature, humidity, air play a significant role. It is therefore then choosing a storage location, it is necessary to select the appropriate location according to these storage instructions. With the increasing importance due to not being dealt before for this problem, our main motivation in planning this research is illustrating a comprehensive decision system for medical sector in the solution of warehouse location selection problem. And let's continue with our objective. Actually, the goal of this study is to make an effective decision order to operate efficient logistic activities. So logistic companies should focus on well-designed warehouses. Warehouse selection in medical sector especially is also an important and strategic decision for these medical companies' sustainability. It's also a long-term decision, and according to firms, cost of infrastructure of the warehouse is also high. The cost-effective approach plays an important role for companies. In order to overcome this cost, especially for pharmaceutical firms, have to make some calculations to decide the area of the warehouse. Roles in choosing a location are, of course, first service availability and then cost. When we check the whole literature about this topic, the other criteria that we found are listed below. First, the proximity to targets such as hospitals is an important factor. Then, again, proximity to the ports or customs, proximity to the pharmaceutical production centers. The location decision of a warehouse also must be submitted together with the capacity and the demand estimation. Then proximity of qualified workforce also have an important role. Infrastructure of the area such as electricity, water, sewage, transportation, natural gas is an important criteria. Climate of the location, ground properties of the location, leasing cost, and traffic density of the location are listed as another important criteria of this problem. And in line with the importance of this decision problem regarding the selection of the optimal location of the warehouse in the medical sector especially, we propose a three-step approach actually. The first step of this proposal is revealing causal relationships between preliminary defined criteria as I listed below. And the second step is related with defining weight of each criterion, the importance of each criterion. And the last step will be about selecting the best alternative location among possible ones by using this weighted criteria. And this study presents the result of the first and initial phase of our proposed concept a wider concept with an empirical application of Pythagorean fuzzy sets in Demattel technique. And considering that problem in medical sector has never been handled before in literature, and we are expecting that our study could shed light on sector professionals as well as the academics. And I will introduce you my methodology. First of all, let's meet the well-known, actually, Demattel technique. This technique is used in order to diagnose causal relationships between criteria in multi-criteria decision-making problems. And it's a useful methodology to perform in order to diagnose these aforementioned relationships. And in line with the aim of this research, this technique is found beneficial to define potential relationships between the previously mentioned criteria. And what's Pythagorean fuzzy Demattel technique? Although the fuzzy perspective of the technique has a wide range in use of analyzing a structural model in the literature, this proposed methodology consists the use of Pythagorean fuzzy sets. Comparing to both crisp and fuzzy Demattel techniques, this approach is stated in literature as superior compared to other fuzzy techniques of dealing with vagueness and uncertainty. The combination of Demattel method with fuzzy set and its extensions have proposed in literature, but the application of this Pythagorean fuzzy-based Demattel has never been used in neither the medical sector nor the warehouse location selection problem before. And pursuing this methodology, the first step is making pairwise comparisons with the linguistic variable of influence. And this table shows us the these degrees of linguistic variables with crisp and Pythagorean fuzzy numbers. And the following steps of the proposed technique include construction of initial direct relation matrix and also calculation of weighted initial direct relation matrix. Then we are defuzzificate this aggregated matrix, and then we construct a normalized total average crisp matrix after this defuzzification. And then we constructed a total relation matrix in order to identify the relationships between criteria. I don't want to give some more details about the mathematical foundations of this methodology, and I'm giving you a recent paper related with this Pythagorean application of Demattel on below. And I want to continue with our results, actually. In our results, with the pursuit of revealing causal relationship between aforementioned criteria in warehouse location selection problem, this proposed approach based on Pythagorean fuzzy sets is used. With the help of 3 different expert opinions, these following criteria are selected for the experiment. And then these including these 3, we have 5 different experts in order to perform these pairwise comparisons. And we evaluated these different linguistic terms for each criteria. We have 6 different matrices which stand for initial direct relation matrices. And I gave as an informative table for initial direct relation matrix of expert 1 for all criteria. And after finishing the aforementioned steps of the methodology, we calculated the relationships between criteria by showing this table. In this table, you are seeing some C, R, C plus R, and C minus R values for each criteria. This C minus R values of each criterion, for each criterion, if these are negative, we call this criteria as cause. Otherwise, the criterion is grouped under the effect category. By the way, we can group which criteria are mentioned as cause for this problem and which are the called as effect of this problem. And by plotting these C minus R and C plus R values of each criterion, we can also draw a causal diagram. Here is the causal diagram of our problem. According to these results, we have 5 cause criteria are influencing the 5 in effect group. The 5 above this 0 line are cause group and the rest are effect group. Namely, proximity to ports and customs, proximity to pharmaceutical production centers, proximity of qualified workforce, location decision of warehouse must be submitted together with capacity and demand estimation, and finally, ground properties of the location are the cause criteria. Among these, the most important criterion in this cause group set it as location decision of a warehouse must be submitted together with the capacity and the demand estimation with the highest C plus R value.
Dear presenter, you just have 2 minutes left.
All right. And when we come to effect criteria, the most important criteria are these below the line. And according to these figures, proximity to target markets is found as the most significant criterion as effect. And in conclusion, I want to repeat our approach to this problem has 3 different steps. Consists of revealing causal relationships between defined criteria. Second, defining criteria weights. Third, selecting the best an appropriate MCDM technique, multi-criteria decision-making technique. And our study presents the result of this first step of 3-step approach with an empirical application of Pythagorean-based DEMATEL. And in future research, we are planning to determine the weights of criteria. Again, will be used by fuzzy-based AMP, and the choose of the optimal location between potential alternatives will be made by planning to be made by fuzzy-based CODES methods. Both Cripps and Pythagorean-based applications of these techniques are planning to present in a prospective for evaluating the results of both AMP and CODES. And these are the selected references of our study, and I want to thank you for listening.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much. This was a very good presentation. I just would like to ask you one question. I understand your results is depending on the 3 expert opinion, which you have taken, right? So I would just like to ask 2 questions out of that. Number 1 is, why did you choose only 3? And second is, if I increase the number of opinion 3 to 5, is it going to affect the results what you have presented today?
Actually, first three experts is used for, sorry, let me show. First 3 is used for only selecting these 10, not for evaluating the criteria. We raised our number of experts for making these pairwise comparisons for the DEMATEL technique. So
Okay.
actually, we have found more than 10 criteria about this warehouse selection problem, but we need to limit this for the medical sector. That's why we ask these three experts in first.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you very much for your research presentation.
Thank you.
Best wishes for your future. Thank you. Over to the conference secretary.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Thank you.
So we have our next presenter, Chandra Vipulapati. I have unmuted you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yes, yes. You can begin, sir.
Thank you so much. Yeah. Okay, can you see my screen?
Yes, yes,
Yeah,
yes.
we can. Yes.
Oh, thank you. Thank you, Suresh. Yeah. Again, hi, this is Chandra Upalpati. I'm in California. And my presentation today is on the mathematical formulation. Again, the role of a combinatorial mathematical formulation for solving one of the society issues. The title is the role of combinatorial mathematical optimization and heuristics to improve small farmers' access to critical veterinarian services. This is one of the things, both in the West as well as the East, one of the demanding services required for the farmers to fulfill their needs. And then how data science, especially the advanced mathematical optimization, would help them. Again, just to previous topic, right? Identification of similar lines, identification of a warehouse location. Or today morning, there's a keynote speaker who mentioned the mathematical optimization. I follow those very, very closely in that. So as part of it, right, what is see again why this is necessary, right? Again, the most important thing is the global demand for agriculture and dairy products are rising. So there is more demand given the affluent nature of people. The demand for the dairy products and agriculture is growing at a rapid pace. On the other hand, right, the assigning services, for example, right, the access of a farmer to a veterinarian services is very limited, both in the East as well as in the West. For example, right, in India, take an example, the livestock population in countries such as India far exceeded the number of veterinarian care. So go to the any veterinarian center, it will be highly populated, or go to small farmers, they may not have access to doctor or veterinarian, even though they are going through a critical phase for their cattle maintenance. Similarly, in the US, right, the shortage is such a high that almost there is, for 80,000 cattle, there is a one veterinarian. Again, that veterinarian is at the retirement age. This is the imbalance. This is what out, uh, the outcome of this imbalance is basically it's affecting both society as well as it's affecting the sustainability, and it is increasing the economic disparity between people who have the money and who don't have the money. This is a huge problem according to society. So the purpose of this paper is how to solve this problem for a veterinarian, so that in a day he get 1,000 requests to visit different farms of a different nature. And how do you help data science to solve this problem? Like classical shortest path to reach all the salesperson, it is some of the algorithms that we have done in the data science. Similar mathematical optimization could be applied in this area, so that he can have maximum coverage of dairy farms or any farmers, as well as he can improve overall the outcome. So that is the background of this. Our goal is very straightforward. The goal of this paper is taking the data science where it is most needed, especially needed where like small farmers who don't have a means to afford it, but we can provide a service to them so that they can also become a citizen data scientist and then definitely help the society. Now, this is a McKinsey research. McKinsey research says AI is a very beneficial to the society, but AI has a limitation in the sense that a lot of people who require the AI, especially the below economic barriers, they cannot afford it. And there are no services for them. For example, right, we develop AI for the big banks in US, we develop AI for the multinational companies, but we don't give the same AI, which is much needed for the small farms, which is a sad affair, as you can see. Now, this is the classical World Health Organization report. In this report, right, there are two curves they maintain. One is the global poverty rate, and then ICT, the penetration of information communication technologies. As you can see it, right, the more the penetration of information communication technologies, the actual drop in the global poverty rate. So what this report says is, if the information communication technologies is available to small farmers, and they can use the technologies that are available like AI, then they can come out of the poverty very fast. But the sad result is, even this study also says, given the 75, almost 60% of a population is employed by the small farms, they don't have access to information communication technology. Again, if you see it, right, these are the ones which are actually causing the lot of trouble for people who require the most of the technologies. So as I said, right, we took the data from the farming agriculture. So what we did was, again, another sad affair of not having technology to the people. A lot of farmers who take the money from the banks, when they cannot afford it, right, they commit suicide. It's a very sad. For example, 1,000 rupees or 10,000 rupees, which comes to not more than a couple of $100. So this can be prevented if technology reaches to them. That's the most important thing. So what we actually, why we landed into this research, and the problem is, we manufacture actually a dairy sensors, which basically collects information from the cattle, and then we give the information to the veterinarian services, so that veterinarians can immediately go to the dairy farms where the diseases of cattle are very high. So in that process, right, that was, we started as a data collecting company. Then in that process, we identified this is one of the required service that we can provide, so that a veterinarian, rather than getting 1,000 requests, he can go to the data report and he can prioritize his farm's visit, so that farmers is happy. Same as a veterinarian who can also have enough time, within 8 hours or 10 hours or 12 hours, they can coverage all the areas. So this is actually dairy farms sensors that we manufacture. The sensors next to me, this is actually a manufacturing sensor. This collects a huge amount of data periodically across the globe. And then this data is actually provided to move to the cloud. And in the cloud, right, we basically analyze the data for machine learning. And then if you see it, right, this is the data we collect from across the world. Now it contains two major records, which is a T records, that is temperature humidity record. It also contains a G records, which is a gyroscope records, which is the activity records. Based on these two factors, right, we identify the diseases for a cattle, and then based on the outcome of this, we supply to mathematical optimization process. Let me go to mathematical optimization process, as it is the core of this paper that we provided. Again, this is what our industry research we've seen across the world, both east and west. Many of the dairy farms falls into different categories here. They don't have a connectivity, they don't have electricity. Some operates in a very tough terrains, very tough to even scale for a human being. The temperature is very high, humidity is very high, and then sometimes the security they don't have. Now, in this spectrum, right, you wanted to operate AI, then AI should be work in this area where they don't have enough power, the computational power is very less, the memory of small phones are very low, and the storage is not available, and the cloud also won't penetrate because there is no connectivity. And then how we can solve this problem? This is our mission, and we try to address this as part of our product and as well as our research. So coming to the main core of this problem, right? Mathematical optimization. The purpose of a mathematical optimization is to find out, given solutions of n outcomes, it find out the best solution. It may not be very optimal, but it basically solves the purpose by applying the heuristics and meta heuristics as part of it. Now, there are three major important in mathematical optimization problem. Generally, it could be applied for warehouses. It could be applied for saving the health and saving the lives of the people. And the first formulation is the modal parameters. The
Sir,
second
last 2
form,
minutes.
yeah. Second formulation is the transition or decision variables. And the third formulation is objective function. For example, right, let me take a simple code. Just I will run through the code. So for example, this is a simple mathematical formalization. All I'm deciding is basically I'm telling a solver, which is mathematically enabled solver, to solve me a mathematical problem. All I'm saying is I'm saying the objective function, which is a simple linear equation in this case, 20 times x1 plus 3 times x2. That's what I'm creating here. 20x1 plus 3x2. That is the function I'm about to solve. And I'm applying some constraints to it. The one constraint in this case is 3x1 plus 4x2 should be greater than 110. The other constraint I'm saying is x2 should be greater than 10 and x2 and less than 30. And thirdly, I'm saying x1 should be greater than 100. Let's say this is the required constraints and objective functions I'm providing. And I'm giving this to a solver, in this case, a GLPK solver, which is open source solver. And if I run it right, automatically the mathematical formalization libraries that they provide, right, automatically it identifies the best values for x1 and x2. So in this case, right, it decides as the x1 is 33 and x2 is 10 based on the constraints that we specify. For example, right, as you see, x1 we said it should be greater than, x1 should be greater than 100. We are saying that. And then x2 should be greater than 10 and less than 30. So if you see it right, x1 is basically greater than 100, x1 is 33 and x2 is 10. And other objective function it specifies is 3x1 plus 4x2 should greater than 110. And then based on that, it tries to fit value for x1 and x2. So this is a simple mathematical formula that we are trying to solve using a simple objective function. Now, let's come to the problem that we are solving, that is for enabling the dairy farmer to get the veterinarian access. Give me a second, I'll be there almost. Yeah. Now, in this case, right, for example, the mathematical equation x1, x2, very straightforward. Now, in real world, right, what is the issue of a veterinarian to reach all the farms? So, for example, right, they maybe have to visit 1 to 100 farms in a day, which is impossible for them. Let's say some farms may require a high medication. Maybe the cattle is dying. They have to go very fast, and then they have to go to the next place. The distance to the farm is maybe distance. As I said, right, in rural and urban, the reach is very tough to reach them. And then historical medicine usage, a sequence of medication, and all other criteria apply, like x1, x2, x3, as we discussed, right? Then we have to define an objective function. The goal is to minimize time to reach all the farms, and then constraints basically should make sure that no farm with high accessibility required, that includes major incidence type and previous overlap. And finally, other criteria is if the disease is very high for the cattle, they have to solve this. This is how you supply the mathematical formulation. And then you give to solver, it goes to the data that we collect and identifies which farms to visit first, so that the farmer, so that the veterinarian don't have to think about it. Basically, it helps them in solving this problem. And this is how mathematical formulation that we apply. Basically, it has a AI part, which is a artificial intelligence part, and it has a iterative part, basically, which tries to identify as it collects the data. So the combination of both, it applies to solve the problem. Finally, I know one more minute, if you don't mind.
Presenter.
Yes. 30 seconds, if you don't mind.
Please, sir, go ahead, as we have a lineup. So
Yeah, thank you so much. So today morning we went to Professor Zin's presentation. Almost everything is optimization or needs an optimization. Again, the most important areas where optimization could be applied: maximize efficiency, accuracy, profit, or minimize the cost, wastage, and energy cost. And other aspect of critical parts of the optimization. You have the algorithm constraints, you have objective functions, and then you have a selector solutions, and then you develop the optimization solution. So this is what we are using in the field to help it. And finally, there are open source libraries available to solve it, like for example, CBC solver, GLPK solver, and then Google also has come out with a recently OR, Google Operation Research Tool, OR research tools, which are fine-tuned for solving a solver problems that we are seeing. So I have further more presentation, but I can hold on this for any questions as time is very constrained.
Yes.
Okay,
Thank you.
Professor.
Thank you for your presentation.
Yeah. It's really very impressive that you have utilized mathematical, modeling like combinatorial optimization technique. Um, you have derived one optimization, I mean, fitness function for your problem. I'm not talking about the toy problem which you solve by coding. I'm asking you, the one which you have developed, the minimization function. So are you looking for single objective minimization, I mean function, or your problem domain is multi-objective? Can you throw some light on this, Chandra?
Thank you, Suresh. I think it's a very nice. This is a real problem that we face. Generally, right, when medical care is to be delivered, right, it is more than a one objective function we are looking at. One is basically, let's say in this case, the veterinarians, they don't want to lose the farmers who are suffering. That's one case. The objective function in this case is how do you address a farmer who has acute need. The second, from the veterinarian point of view, the travel costs them a lot, and then equipment, medication costs them a lot. So we have to juggle with a couple of optimization objective functions to deal with that.
Okay, that's fine. Also, I would like, because you morning you have heard Jean C. Yang, who is a good friend of mine and a good collaborator of mine, and he's a developer of couple of optimization algorithms. Even I have my two of my own algorithms. So I would urge Chandra, you can try along with the existing open source optimization available. You can try some evolutionary optimization technique, because we find those are able to handle more complex problems in reality. So yeah, just try it, and in case any support necessary or assistance necessary, we are all there to collaborate with you. It's a good job, it's a good work, and best wishes for your work, Chandra.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Thank you, sir.
Over to
love
you.
to be in connect. I'll send an email. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yes, thank you. So our next presenter is Sanjay Nagendra. Yes, please.
Yeah. Thank you, Conference Secretary.
Yes, please go ahead.
Yeah. 1 minute.
Yes, your screen is visible. You can begin.
Yeah, is it visible? Screen is visible. Hello?
Yes. It is visible.
Yeah. But the screen what I had shared is somewhat. 1 minute. 1 second.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's fine. And,
just take care of the time limit.
Yes. Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you.
Good afternoon, London, and good evening, India, and rest of the world. Good morning. Myself, Sanjay, and basically my research is on with LANA-based architecture for Bluetooth environment, and I'm carrying out this has my research under VQRC under the guidance of Dr. Shaila, professor and professor in Vivekananda Institute of Technology. So basically, my perception of going with wireless sensor networks is how to design a very good personal area network, because in day-to-day life we are using in each and every handheld devices, or it may be any kind of medical applications everywhere, where we concentrate on the need of multiple sensor technology with the desired environment, and where the congestion is to be ruled out. In such cases, my approach is to do with autonomicity that combines the local automata and does agonistic features, which can control the congestion and can also improve the throughput and fault tolerance, leading to the support of unicast and multicast packet deliveries. In such scenarios, we had achieved around 20% increase in throughput and 10% lesser fault tolerance levels. And this is my overview of the presentation. So starting with the wireless sensor networks is concerned, it's just an advance in microsensing technology, which is leading to a considerable volume, and it is dominating in technology at the other side. The second thing is how suitable the personal area network, because we have an alternate of UWB, but still why we stick with Bluetooth. As the Bluetooth is concerned, it is always went with short range transmission, which operates at 2.4 gigahertz with a range of 2 megahertz of bottom end and 3 megahertz of 3.5 megahertz of top end band gap we are going to achieve. Henceforth, it uses time division multiple access and the frequency of spectrum. In such things, separate channels are used to avoid interference while using Bluetooth within the available audio range. With the same, we had used two things. One is master node concept and also master slave node concept and slave node in the Bluetooth environment as shown. And the motivation in proceeding with this research is long existence under specific energy and complexity constraint. As we speak with respect to the specific energy and complexity constraints, how exactly we can do our contribution. So while doing the contribution for the same with reliable throughput that integrates the Bluetooth sensor network with an alternating utilizing master slave
Deepika,
communication. Yeah.
I can't see the transition of your slides. This is still the first slide. Any
Yes,
problem?
yes.
Yeah.
1 minute. Sorry. Is that?
Sanjay?
Yeah. Is that?
Yeah.
Is that
Now it
okay
is
now?
going on. This is
Yeah,
abstract
just your
now.
slides were not
Yeah. Yeah.
Sorry.
Now it is okay. Yeah.
moving
Yeah,
aside.
fine. So with this constraint, like our motivation and contribution is concerned, these are the few references which mainly we concentrated on ELA based architecture. And coming to the implementation part of our design, we had chosen around 500 sensor nodes which are randomly arranged. And in particular, at a particular region, if I say with respect to the Bluetooth environment is concerned, how exactly the movements of packets using LA-based ANA architecture is going to work like. We can see the mobile sync is there, the range of mobile sync, and the trajectory sync is introduced. And once the trajectory sync is introduced, within that range, the propagation from source to the destination or any other corner of this network should happen with major active nodes covered. But still, we have some inactive nodes which are at the shortest path linking from source to the destination. In that, we are taking the possible links, and we are also estimating the radio range. So how exactly our algorithm works is basically in a dynamic environment, we are going to initialize the AODV parameters, and we will consider the source and destination with intermediate nodes and their related distance. And based on the occurrence of active nodes within the mobile sync range, we are going to find the probability of occurrence of the nodes along with their number. The number refers to the distance. And then the randomly distributed node select a particular path with total cost of distance number, and it starts sending the packets. Till now, there is no disturbances or there won't be any congestions as per our perspective. But if there is a congestion or is there any disturbances or is there any involvement of inactive nodes, at that time, the task now chosen is LA based ANA, where with generic path comprising the pico nodes are selected, and the probability of occurrence of nodes in selected path is tabulated as a I can say like a predefined tableau. Then the estimation of cost from present and previous path chosen are updated with probability of occurrence value. Then the local automata based autonomous is provided for the selected path. Now once this functionality returns, then the saved probabilities and transmit the packets as per whatever our designed LA ANA based architecture. And if error found, then it restarts with step 5, and the process continues till the transmission of packets is completed. This is how our algorithm works. So the simulation parameters was what I considered for 50 seconds, and the random numbers we had selected with 5 terrain, and the number of nodes is 10 to 100 1000 nodes, and the placement is random, and propagation limit is minus 111 decibel meter. Then the noise figure is chosen as 10, and the temperature is normal temperature, and the radio receiver type is SNR bound. It's a basic bound thing, and the transmitted power is 20 decibels. Usually the transmitted power will be less than 10 decibel but per meter, decibel meter, but we had selected double the same because to provide some good autonomicity between the nodes. Then the MAC protocol is 802.11, and our architecture is learning automata based autonomous network architecture. So these are the performance analysis, and we can see that there is a huge increase in throughput as we go on, increase the number of nodes starting from some 10 to 1000. And if it is with unicast delivery, and there is a substantial increase of around 20% with the packets received at the destination side, and it also go for multicast, and here also the same 20%. And if we check with the fault tolerance level, as a faulty nodes are increased, the tolerance levels that the LACAS based Bluetooth handle is lesser than what of the LACAS. That is my base paper, which I had gone through, and with that I had implied for Bluetooth. So this is my conclusion: to achieve reliable communication between the nodes at larger rate, and the throughput and fault tolerance levels have to be optimized in dynamic environment containing large number of nodes, and provides a continued communication even if the nodes are in the communication range, availing the function of master or slave to their respective nodes. And with the overall work is concerned, LANA using the cascade architecture. It's not a cascade, it's a cascade, because we are taking two things and we are merging onto a MAC layer, therefore it is called as cascade. For Bluetooth environment is designed, and performance results are compared through simulation in using NS2, and the proposed algorithm is capable of effective avoiding the congestion. And since we had avoided the congestion, we have an increased throughput with decreasing collision at intermediate nodes and providing sufficient unicast and multicast deliveries. And there is a significant reduction in fault tolerance levels also. And finally, these are references. And thank you. And any queries?
Fine, Sanjay. Thanks for your presentation. I just have one query there. In your simulation, you have chosen some random numbers, right?
Yes.
You know, for the different parameter, you have taken some random numbers.
Yes.
So my question is, how did you choose the random number? Did you take any probability distribution function for doing it, or
Yes.
you have taken from the normal distribution?
I had used the normal distribution itself, Gaussian distribution, and which will had tried for 10 to 15 random things, and whichever I got with the better probabilities of occurrence and better unicast and multicast delivery rates, I stick with those things. And based on that, whatever the .out file I had generated, I had calculated for the throughput for 2 to 3 different cases. Then I concluded this would be the possible result with respect to the normal.
Okay. Okay. Then can I reproduce your best result by choosing the same random number when I do second time simulation and I run the random number? Is there any guarantee that those same random number will be occurring to provide me the best output?
No.
No. So every time I run, I may get a different one. and then I need to run it for number of times to select the best one. Is that so?
Yes. Yes.
Okay. So you mean to say the reproducibility of the best result, what you obtained, cannot be guaranteed next time? One
Yes.
has to once again do it. Okay. Thank you. Thank you, Sanjay. Over to Secretary, please. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Sanjay. So our next presenter is Anshul.
Hello, am I
I've
audible?
unmuted you. Yes, 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 please. You can begin with
Okay,
your presentation.
sure. Okay, just a moment, please. Is my presentation visible to you?
Yes, go ahead.
Okay. So, sir, my name is Anshul Gupta, and I'll be presenting my presentation on the topic human-based approach to finding software reliability prediction matrix for the paper ID 379. So, when we are in the software industry, we always look forward to having a software that can run without failures, because at the end, we want that our data that we are using to run the software should be safe and secure. Because if the software runs into failure, that means there are no chances that you might lose data, and as a result, it can cause a high amount of loss, can even reach to million or billion dollars of losses to a corporate. So the equation that we use to calculate the software reliability was cohesion upon coupling plus psychometric complexity plus faults, which I'll be discussing in the upcoming slides. Next, I'll be discussing also about the scenario that we had taken for our research project, that was of e-library management system, which consisted of 4 different modules. First was admin, which was able to add, delete or update our library, and is responsible for the whole system. Second is the librarian, which can issue books, view the issue books, and add or delete the books. Third is the books, which consists of all the details regarding the books, be it authors, publication, or the title of the book. Fourth is a transaction, which is a hidden module in the project, which is only be visible after the transaction is completed, and it will be shown on the screen. So using the above 4 modules or 4 components, we had derived different values, which will be discussed in the upcoming slides. Next, I'll be discussing about the UML diagram that we had used for the research. One on the right is the flash diagram which we use to get the cohesion and coupling values. So in class, as you can see, there are 4 different modules which I had discussed earlier, showcasing the different value parameters and the functions that are there. And as you can see, the relation between admin and library is 1 to n, which means that there is only one admin to the whole system, who can add multiple librarians to conduct the various functions. On the left, we have the sequence diagram, which shows the different sequence that are consistent and can be seen in the system. So, for example, I'll be discussing one about the ad book scenario, where the librarian chooses the ad book scenario, and if the book is already there, it shows that the book is already in the library and it doesn't add. Second, if the book is not there, then it is able to add the book and can be seen in the view book function. Next, I'll be talking about cohesion and coupling for the research project. Cohesion is basically the degree to which a module are interdependent or functionally related. By that means, what are the amount of functional calls that are among the different modules or different components of the function or the module. So, coupling is the measure of interdependence. By interdependence, I mean the different modules or multiple modules should not be dependent on each other, because if the multiple modules are highly dependent on each other, it can result to low software reliability, which is highly disregarded in the software industry. So when we talk about cohesion coupling, we wish to have high cohesion and low coupling in order to increase the amount of software reliability our software has. Next, so these are the diagrams which we had used in order to calculate the cohesion and coupling cohesion for class and sequence diagram. The first is the method invocation chart. As you can see, it defines the number of messages that are passed and received among the different modules of the system. For example, admin receives no message, whereas it is passing on 4 different messages to the library. Next, we have dynamic slicer, which was used for sequence diagram in order to calculate the cohesion. So as you can see, there are different slices which define different scenarios of this sequence diagram. So for example, on the first scenario, it shows the login function of ours. So we make sure that the login function should be correct and should be shown as here. Next, for the coupling for class and sequence diagram, we had made use of the method invocation chart, which defines the amount of attributes that are there and also defines the amount of attributes that will be used in order to calculate the coupling of the class diagram. Next, for sequence diagram, we made use of sequence dependency graph, which defines the maximum amount of the size of a module and the length that a module has in it. So using these two diagrams, we were able to calculate the coupling for the class and sequence diagram. Econometric complexity, it defines the complexity of source code. We don't want a source code that is highly complex, because if the first developer who is working on the project or the software has to leave due to uncircumstances, the new coder should be able to understand the code that is there. So we don't want a highly complex code, and we want a code which has less amount of psychometric complexity in order to make the software more maintainable and can be updated on regular basis. So the equation which we use to calculate the psychometric complexity was E minus n plus 2t, where E defines the number of edges that a flow graph has, control flow graph has, as shown in the image, and n is the number of nodes that are there, defined by the circles, and P is the number of nodes with exit points. So by exit points, we mean the amount of nodes that can go to the logout function of the admin. Next, I'll be discussing about the faults. So fault is one of the major part which we don't want in our project, because if there are faults that can lead to less stable and less reliable software, it can also result in technical difficulty, which can also mean loss of data in our software. So the faults, to calculate faults, we actually use the following formula.
Dear presenter, you just have few minutes left.
Sure, ma'am. It's just 2 more slides after this. So by fault, V, which is defined by the volume of the code, and S is the decision that a software takes in order to complete a particular process. Next, I'll be discussing the result. As you can see, on the top we have the different components and the estimated reliability shown, and it's defined the different values as I discussed earlier regarding the software estimate or reliability. So as we can see from component 3, the software reliability comes out to be 0. That defines that we have to change that particular class in the class diagram in order to increase the software reliability. For the bottom, we have for the sequence diagram. Over here, we can see the amount of faults for the whole project is coming out to be quite high, which results in our least software reliability. And as you can see, the psychometric complexity is 57, which is not what we want in a software, because that means the code is less maintainable and is highly complex. So it cannot be understood by the next developer who might come in order to work on the project. Lastly, we talk about conclusion. So in our project, we had defined different values which we use. So if we are able, using those values, if we are able to detect these errors on early stage of designing, then it can lead to better software reliability at the end product. Or it can also mean that any error that can come into the technical phases can be reduced. And as soon Bayesian approach is one of the approaches that we see, but it does not account for faults over the different components as I showed in my results during the class diagram scenario. So I would like to thank everyone and ask if there are any questions regarding the same.
Well, Anshul, thank you very much for working on this software reliability.
Thank you, sir.
And only thing what I'm concerned about the
Yes, sir.
case study which you have taken is
Yes, sir.
a toy case study. It is not a real world case study. It's
Yes,
like
sir.
a library where the records are very less, and then
So this can be also applied into the real scenarios, because when
but
we
will
develop,
this, that's fine. Then will this estimated reliability outcome will hold good for a complex problem, because we have organic problem, we have inorganic project, now we
yes,
have
sir.
complex projects, right?
Yes, sir.
So depending on the types of the projects, I guess the reliability estimation need to be little tweaked, little changed. You can't rely on a single identified reliability function derivation across all type of software projects.
Yes, sir.
So you need to definitely focus more on this in your future work, and then
Yes, sir.
maybe extend this paper and look forward for the same venue once again next year to submit your work, so that this would be useful to the research community. Thank you, Anshul. Thank you very much. Over to Deepika.
Thank you, sir. Thank you so much. Once again, I thank you to all the participants. Now I would like to invite Dr. Amit Joshi for the closing remark. Yes.
Still going to be good evening, but still good afternoon to everyone who are present in this session. And thank you very much, the chair of the session, Dr. Suresh Satpathy, for chairing this session and sparing his valuable time. Attending digital sessions are really good these days, but chairing digital sessions are literally difficult, because you need to concentrate on a single screen for a long number of times, maybe around 90 minutes, and then commenting on the author's work. So it's really difficult, and we appreciate your efforts, sir, for
Thank you.
for sparing your valuable and precious time for us on my request. Thank you very much, and
Thank you,
I
Amit.
our team will share a token of appreciation to you.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Thank you once again. For
Thank you.
rest of all
Thank you,
participants,
sir. Thank
we
you.
can share the all documents to you within few minutes after ending of this session. For further guidelines, Dr. Amit is also here. Yes.
Next part of my thanks is due to all the authors who have contributed. There is a cycle time for around 6 to 7 to 8 months for a conference paper to get submitted and to get it published. So I thank all the authors for sparing their valuable time in connection with this. And there are two things I would like to mention here, that the publication process for IEEE is approximately 2 to 3 months. So please patiently wait till the time you get. Second thing, already we have released the e-copyrights of IEEE papers. So either you would have received or you will be receiving in next 1 or 2 days. So please do sign once you receive those. And thirdly, all of you will receive the certificates as well as payment receipt as a thank you, and a thank you letter from our organization soon after the session is over. So I wish you a very safe time. I think the certificate is already being shared to Dr. Satapathy, and again
Yeah.
it has been sharing. So I once again thank you for sparing all of you your valuable time, and Dr. Satpathy, and
Yeah. Thank you.
look forward to see you in World S4 2021 physically. Thank you very much.
Hope so. Thank you.
Once again, I thank you to all for the good memories. If you wish, then you can just on your camera. We can click a one snap for next 20 seconds. Then we can just leave this meeting. So if you wish, just turn on your camera for next 20 seconds. Thank you so much. Deepika, look forward to close of the same.
Thank you for the participation, everyone. Thank you, sir.